Active listening. In this video, you will explore the job task of actively listening to understand your client's needs and concerns. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to describe the difference between effective and active listening, discuss elements of active listening, and apply active listening in client meetings. Over the last couple decades, the financial planning industry has truly recognized that financial planning is both an art and a science. Dennis Jaffe and James Grubman framed the importance of art in their article Core Techniques for Effective Client Interviewing and Communication by stating, the most effective and successful advisors in the industry are ones who can truly listen, build trust, interview effectively, make the client feel understood, and manage the delicate issues that money can evoke. Let's examine what it means to truly listen. Listening is one of the key skills of any planning professional. We need to understand our client, their wants and needs, goals and objectives, values, attitudes, biases, their preferences and constraints, time horizons, and family boundaries. We need to ask questions which help us know not only that external data, but the internal issues. In the article, Tips on Effective Listening, Larry Natick describes the difference between effective listening and active listening, which is useful for purposes of this discussion. He describes effective listening to be when the receiver interprets and understands the sender's message in the way the sender intended it. The sender codes and transmits the message, and the receiver understands. The interaction could be mostly one way, although the listener needs to maintain focus and tune into that message. The author proceeds to describe active listening to be when the receiver is genuinely interested in understanding what the other person is thinking, feeling, wanting, or what the message means, and we're active in checking out our understanding. Do you see the difference? This emotional connection between the transmitter and the receiver, and that active engagement in some level of feedback, elevates active listening to a higher level. The interaction is two-way, although most of the talking still would come from the transmitter. As a financial planner, we need to apply active listening in our daily work with clients, particularly when we're in a fiduciary relationship. Diane Schilling, a writer for Forbes magazine, shares some important elements of active listening. These are attentiveness to the client, setting aside all distractions, being present and focused, show interest, maintain eye contact, the way that you're facing the client. Listen without judging or jumping to conclusions. Listen without mentally rehearsing your response. Keep that quiet mind. Listen empathetically. Try to feel what the client's feeling. Don't interrupt or offer solutions. Ask questions to improve understanding. Waiting for that pause. Do you see how this creates a genuine connection between the client and the planner? Do you see the genuine intention to understand the client, confirming that what is heard aligns with what the client meant to say? That's the intention of active listening. Effective and active listening are both elevated when you remove the boulders. Physical distractions might include interruptions by office workers during the client meeting, room temperature that is too hot or too cold, poor lighting, street noise, or cell phone buzzing. These distractions lessen your ability to understand the client. Perhaps even more disruptive is the internal clutter and chatter, including preconceptions, judgments, thinking about what you're going to say next, emotional biases, conflicting emotions, and thoughts on extraneous matters. As a planning professional, you need to be present for the client. You need to be thoroughly engaged. Reflect on ways to clear away those boulders. In active listening, a connection is made between the client and the planner. Visibly demonstrate that you are all in. Typically, we do this by maintaining eye contact. There's a positive body language, including you're facing the client. You're leaning maybe slightly forward, mirroring the client's posture. Positive facial expressions and head nods. Concise affirmational comments, and possibly note-taking, although you probably want to minimize how much or how often your eyes leave the client. Note that in team situations, one of the junior planners is often the one assigned to take notes, while the senior planners remain fully engaged with the client. In the article, Applying Active and Effective Listening, Ralph Klein frames active listening as listening with both sides of your brain. The left hemisphere hears what is said, assimilates the data and the details, and processes the problem. The right hemisphere observes how things are said, seeks to understand the feelings, the emotions. Whole brain listening clearly embraces Larry Natick's definition of active learning. Interaction with the client during active listening includes asking open-ended questions to clarify, concisely restating what you heard, paraphrasing what you heard, and possibly summarizing the content. Each of these helps you to clarify the message. It also lets the client know that you are fully engaged and that you care to hear their story. Remember, the client doesn't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Active listening shows that you care. In this lesson, you learned about effective listening and active listening techniques.